Hello, everyone. So I wanted to come at you again, um, just to say a couple of things. Most of you who are watching this, unless this is like super old, I got stuff all over my face. I'm sorry. I was just moving stuff around, and I think I got soot on my face from moving candles and stuff. I apologize for that. Anyway. Most of you, unless this is an old video, you probably know me, you probably know a lot about me and how I am. However, some of you don't know me yet. So I thought I might share a couple important details about me as I relax today, because they are fairly relevant to what I had to say. First off, this is the face that if you're meeting this face first, I apologize. Excuse me, because I am not in my best of health, and I'm getting there. I am healing. I am getting better, but this has been a very long road to recovery. And so, if this is the first face you are meeting, don't fall in love with it, because this is not my usual. I'm kind of the manic pixie girl, if she never had to grow up, is what I have been called. But the truth is, I did have to grow up. I had to grow up very young and very quickly, and in a very painful manner. And so some of those details are why I sit at home all day making YouTube videos and watching therapy videos and reading therapy books, and basically I am permanently disabled due to medical or, let's be honest, and psychological conditions. Sorry, sometimes I lose my way due to some of those medical conditions. And so on permanent disability, the way I see it is the government pays me not to go crazy or break myself or break anyone else. So my job is to maintain and improve my health and well-being as best I can. And so in my mind, that has always been knowledge and generosity, and really focusing on self-improvement and who the ideal me would be. If I could be anything, if I could be anyone. You know, they always tell you when you're a kid, you can be anyone you want to be, you can be anything you want to be. And we all kind of know that's bullshit, because, you know, let's be honest, this body ain't going to space. You know, I am not running any marathons. You know, it's not happening. I can't do everything, because when I was a kid, there were two things I wanted to be. Well, three things I wanted to be. I wanted to be an astronaut. Well, as ballerina, and it was when I realized I couldn't be a ballerina, I wanted to be an astronaut. So it started out as ballerina, astronaut, stunt woman. What was the other one? There's something. I mean, I know I wanted to do like paleontology and everything, but who doesn't when they're a kid? I used to like learn hieroglyphics. I had little stamps and stuff. But knowledge, seeking knowledge, was always the most important thing to me. I enjoyed dancing because it let me feel free. I enjoyed, you know, the idea of space and anthropology and archaeology and paleontology, all of the ologies. I was an ologist. I wanted to be an ologologist. Uh, and you know, I just loved science and knowing and learning. And even today, there are things that I know in this lifetime I will never comprehend. I will never be able to fathom. I once went to a Oracle think tank with one of my dearest, dearest friends, who I love with all my heart. And she was a speaker, and I was her guest. And I am not an unintelligent person. However, I felt like the dumbest blonde in that room. I was like, I have a crayon. I was like that. I was like stupid. And they were talking in these languages that I just couldn't even fathom. And so, at one point I just turned to somebody, and it's very interesting because I think I may end up working with him in a invention fabrication. I turned to this guy and I said, and he's talking, and I'm just looking at him like he's fantastic. And he asks me a question, and I say, honestly, I have no idea how to answer you because you're speaking in a language I don't understand. And to me, this may as well just be magic and pixie dust. Because at this point, you are so beyond my comprehension that it may as well just be magic and pixie dust. And that's okay. We don't have to know everything. But seeking knowledge is always vital to me. And growing up the way I did, strongly influenced by my grandfather, who taught me all of his little colloquialisms and all of his little phrases. And I bastardized them and mashed them together with accents and terminology from loved ones from all over the place. And in doing so, I have developed a very, very strange form of speech. What it has done is allowed me to sort of, I think, look at things from a different perspective because I'm frequently misunderstood. And because of that, I try not to misunderstand people. I always try to take a moment to pause and to consider what's being said and really think, do I understand the meaning behind these words? Am I understanding the context of these words? And so a lot of times I think that we assume we all speak the same language. If we all speak English or we all speak, any other language, we all assume that that word is the same meaning in the language, but it's not. And one of the things that really drove that home the most was when I moved from where I had lived my entire life on the West Coast to the East Coast. When I was 34 years old, I moved from right around the Oakland area to Philadelphia. And it was to escape an abusive narcissistic relationship. If you scroll down, you'll probably find some videos of him on there. Please don't, send any sort of hate. But yeah, but it was my means of sort of breaking free. At least I thought. I didn't realize I was still in a narcissistic relationship. But I had ended what I had realized was a narcissistic relationship. And let me. So I moved from 34 years on the West Coast in mostly Washington in the Seattle area, or just north of Seattle, to the Bay Area in California, where I spent 10 years, to Philadelphia. I spent 1 year in Philadelphia, and then I moved inward a little bit more in the South Central area. And in that time, I met and fell in love with the love of my life, my absolute heart and soul. And we have a very beautiful life, and I couldn't be happier. And we are both very calm and understanding people. Him more so than me. He's much calmer. But he grew up in New York in a very, very sort of traditional sort of Puerto Rican family, but with a lot of extra little flares of flavor that God bless him. I love his family. I really truly do. And but he developed a form of speech, English, but East Coast English. I, growing up in a very sort of demure, cut off your arm for a stranger, but don't you dare ask for help from your family. One of those sort of quiet families, and I didn't know my father's side. My father passed when I was an infant. And so I was only familiar with my mother's side of the family, which was primarily Swedish Protestant, just quiet, polite, take your vitamins, do your chores, get a good education, try to be generous and hospitable kind of folk. And I didn't realize sort of the generational trauma that our family had suffered, making us a series of doormats. And in that time, I developed not only a West Coast form of speech, which in and of itself is a much more passive form of speech than you will find on the East Coast, but then it was even more passive. It was more subservient. It was more apologetic. And in a way, its politeness was toxic. Toxic for us. Toxic really for everyone around us. And the one thing that made me start to realize that we can't assume we all speak the same language is when I would notice the arguments that I would get into with my partner. They were always simple miscommunications. I don't want to go on in detail because this video is already getting a little long, but just know context matters. Context always matters. So be sure that before you fly off the handle and you get angry and you start a fight over how somebody says something, take a couple things into consideration. Do they mean what you think they mean? Is it possible that you are misinterpreting the way that they use the words? And is it possible that maybe this is a language barrier? And we just need to take a little time and say, hey, wait a minute. Did you really mean it like this? Or am I misunderstanding your natural form of speech? It happens all the time. We just have to be willing to accept that our way isn't the only way even with something as simple as the language we have spoken all our lives. So anyway, on that note, I'll leave you with one of my favorite little turns of phrase, courtesy of my twisted brain and my grandfather. It's like trying to chop a tree down with a fish.